All right, well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for our quarterly update. Just a couple of minutes and I'll fill you in on what's been going on the past few months since we last met. First, just as a reminder, if you're new to the PACE mission, we are on orbit and we launched 210 days ago today. So we're already approaching two-thirds of a year, which is really, really exciting and kind of mind-boggling for many of us. I hope most of you already know this, but just in case, again, if we have new visitors, one slide just to give you a bird's eye view of what this mission is. You can certainly tell from the acronym that it's multidisciplinary earth science. Major focuses are on ocean and atmospheric aerosol science, but we can do a lot of really great things for land and clouds as well. Clouds in particular with our multi-angle polarimeters. We are a polar ascending sun-synchronous orbit, like many of the other NASA Earth science missions, MODIS and VIIRS. 1 o'clock equatorial crossing time. Our altitude's about the same as the others. All of this runs through Goddard Space Flight Center, and perhaps what's most meaningful to all of you is that our data latency has been running between 6 and 9 hours lately, which means from the time of collection to getting a level 2 product out on the street for your use is less than 12 hours. So hopefully that is a nice advantage for your research. And everything we're doing here is free, open science with even software made available for your use. 3-instrument observatory. The primary instrument is the ocean color instrument. This is a hyperspectral scanning radiometer. Then we also have 2 amazing, small but mighty contributed multi-angle polarimeters. One is from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, known as HARP-2, and the other is from a consortium of organizations in the Netherlands known as SPEX-1. So all of these slides will be made available, so I won't take any more time with the details of the instruments of the observatory, but that's where we are. 3 instruments flying at 700 kilometers, collecting kick-butt data. You can, of course, learn more on our website and our social media channels. So check back to this slide if you need additional information on who we are and what we are. So where are we? The last time we met, I believe only the top of this screen was available. We had our first light initial data release on April 11th. That was 63 days after launch, so just a few days after our commissioning period ended. At that point, we released level 1 radiometry from all 3 instruments, plus a heritage suite of ocean color products from the ocean color instrument. And all of these were immediately classified as provisional, which means to you that you can go to NASA's Earth Data Search and locate them there, or you can visit the Ocean Biology DAC or the OBPG to get global level 3 products as well. In early July, we completed our first full mission reprocessing. So you should be looking for a V2 or a version 2 label in the data files that you get. This reprocessing, it was tied to a calibration update, and that included our first use of on-orbit calibrations for all 3 instruments. So the initial release was using laboratory measurements before launch. Version 2 now uses information from on-orbit. Now there's still a lot left to do here. We haven't performed the system vicarious calibration yet for our ocean color instrument, but nevertheless, on-orbit information is available. Now with this, we also released a second wave of test products from OCI, and all of these can be found on the OBDAC website. They included terrestrial and aquatic surface reflectances spaced every 10 meters, so it's spectral, 10 terrestrial vegetation indices, and cloud optical properties and altitude. So at a level 3 global map format, these are now available for you. If you'd like all of the gory details, and I'll come back around to where you can find more details later in this quick presentation, you can find them at the link at the bottom of that last bullet. Now, I mentioned there were incomplete calibrations. We are planning a second reprocessing, which will be labeled version 3 in the coming months, hopefully within 2 to 3. This will include the first system vicarious calibration for OCI, advanced atmospheric correction for OCI, so hopefully improvements in polarimetry as well, and another to be determined wave of products which will appear with a disposition of test to be made available on the OBDAC website. Now, there are a number of additional data products to be released. The Promise of PACE had a couple of hundred of advanced data products from OCI and the two polar emitters. There are no deadlines for release of these products as they still need implementation review and blessing by the PI or the product contributor. So we'll come back to where you can learn more about that. I just want to pause for a second and show you what current data availability looks like. So the categories here are all the different data products. They're grouped by product suite in the left-hand column. So all of the apparent optical properties, or AOPs, for example, can be found in a single product suite called AOP. The same would be true for inherent optical properties, or IOPs, biogeochemistry, BGC, and so on. The columns indicate the data processing level that is available, level 1, 2, and or level 3, and then where you can find these data, with EDS being Earth Data Search, that's the NASA official search engine, or the OBDAC. So you can refer back to this as you start exploring data. In the two green brackets, that are the products that were released as additional to our first batch of radiometry that accompanied version 2. Okay, so what do these look like? Here's just a nice glimpse prepared by some amazing scientists in our group. The top panel A is global representation from May 2024 of surface reflectance from the ocean color instrument. And then you can see below that, there are two vegetation indices that are new to us. The middle row has normalized difference vegetation index from April and July, left to right. And then on the bottom, there's a chlorophyll index red edge from April and July, left to right. And these are some really remarkable new products coming out of OCI that are now available because of its hyperspectral characteristics. Hopefully, even though this is new information and that these products aren't fully validated yet, they are a great way to announce that this era of hyperspectral is here. This provides great pathfinder data for future missions, and hopefully the terrestrial community will get really energized and move forward with checking these things out and making advances of their own. Okay, so this is the table I had referred to before. The Promise of PACE has a number of different data products. If you're interested in their disposition, meaning are they ready? When are they coming soon? I would refer you to this table that provides all the information you could possibly want in terms of how to find out additional information. What is the data availability in terms of processing levels? Is it available now? Is it going to be available in the next 2 or 3 months? Is it in the works? Yellow category here, or such that there are approaches identified and I just need to wait, versus the red, which is, hey, we don't actually have an idea for implementation. Maybe this information is of value to you as the community when you write proposals to PACE solicitations. Find a new way of doing those things that we don't know how to do yet. Okay, so there are two new components of the PACE website that will be really important for you as you proceed. The first is what we're calling What You Should Know About PACE Data, and the URL is right below the title there. The purpose of this is to point out to you where we know there are some data issues. There are certain regions of the spectra that we don't entirely understand instrument performance yet. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. The instruments are all doing really, really well, but we're only 210 days into this era of global 1 to 2 day coverage hyperspectral plus multi-angle polarimetry. So there's a lot of lessons to be learned here. So this website should be a really nice resource for you as you start developing and interpreting your own science retrievals as well. There may be regions of the spectrum that you want to avoid for the moment, for example, when you're developing an approach. So this is a dynamic page that will be updated often. It also includes information about data outages and when data are available for the 3 instruments. So I recommend bookmarking it and checking back as you start interpreting data from PACE. Now we have this wonderful second one too, which is where we're housing our preliminary performance assessments. Right now, it only has remote sensing reflectances, but yes, 210 days into this mission and 160 days since data were released, we already are starting to have sufficient information to evaluate the ocean color radiometric performance of OCI. And I'm really excited about this because out of the box, without all of those additional calibrations that I mentioned before, we are meeting our mission requirements. So here you're getting an example of a remote sensing reflectance matchup at 443 nanometers on the bottom. This is relative to our AeroNet OC data streams. Check back here often as well. It will be dynamically updated as more data become available. And as you have chlorophyll and aerosol optical depth and other data becoming available with implementation of new algorithms, performance assessments will start being populated. So this is your first view of the quality of the data from a statistical point of view. Two other things to mention relative to exciting things going on now. We have a PACE validation science team. This is effectively a collection of scientists from around the United States and the world who have 4 years to be collecting data for performance assessments. There are groups already in the field, and these data are actively coming into CBAS, where once they are vetted and uploaded within, a few days or weeks, they become immediately available to you. So this is the source of much of the data that will be used to create new validation matrices from that will be posted on the webpage that I just showed you. But again, the data are available to community. This is open science, and so start looking for them if it's useful for your research. And then really timely and exciting is the post-launch airborne experiment, PACE's PACE Packs. This is actively happening as we speak. West coast of the US, there are 3 sites in California. In NASA ER2 flying out of NASA Armstrong, Surface Twin Otter flying out of the Monterey Bay region, and this wonderful hodgepodge of amazing and capable ships being deployed up and down the coast from Monterey to Santa Barbara, collecting at sea data as well too. The ER2 flew its first science flight yesterday. The Twin Otter has had 2 this week already. Everything has kicked off, and these data will also become available and provide really our best opportunity for performance assessment of our polarimeters and OCI atmospheric products um, from aircraft to data. So we will keep you posted on how this is going, but the fact that it's kicked off is really exciting. For those of you who do such things, this has been a ton of work to kick off, and the leadership team of this project has been really remarkable. So really happy for them. Then earlier this month, sorry, I guess last month at this point, first week of August, we conducted our first social coding event for PACE. We had a 1 week long hack week, which at least for me was a ton of fun, and I certainly I learned a lot. Why you might care? Well, all of the outcomes from that hack week, including all of the tutorials, the Jupyter notebooks, and GitHub repositories for the projects that the participants created will all become available. And hopefully this is a great way for you all to have the data and its accessibility, immediately demystified with some foundational tools that you can use to begin operating with all of these data. So Hack Week was a ton of fun. We're going to do this again next year or the year after, depending timing and availability. And hopefully all of these resources become valuable to you as well. We'll get them all out in the street, including the science presentations and recordings of all the lectures that accompanied the tutorials. All right, so where do we go from here? As I mentioned, we're going to pursue a second reprocessing, which will be version 3 this fall, Northern Hemisphere fall. That'll include, as I mentioned before, system vicarious calibration for OCI for the first time, updated atmospheric correction, and then TBD updates related to HARP2 Specs 1 and a new product availability. As I indicated to you just a few slides ago, data from the PACE validation science team and also from our system vicarious calibration teams are going to be becoming available. We have, in addition to the Hack Week tutorials, the RSET training that Morgan mentioned, an in-person CDAS experience at Ocean Optics, and a few other opportunities for trainings and tutorial developments coming up. So, visit the OBDAC, OBPG website and the PACE website to track those comings and goings. And then for those of you who are out and about or on the road, the plan is to have a substantial meeting presence, all through the fall into the spring. And there's just a list here of where we're going to be, but there are a ton others. So stop by and say hello if you see any one of us. So, okay, with that, I will pause. I will leave you with some global imagery of chlorophyll, particulate organic carbon, phytoplankton carbon, and the apparent visible wavelength from OCI. And I'll sign off, stop sharing, and look for some questions in the chat then. And otherwise, hand this back to you, Morgan. Thank you all. Thanks again for joining.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much, Jeremy, for that. So we do have a couple of questions. It looks like they're being answered in the chat, but I'm going to read them out loud anyway. We'll do just one or two in the interest of time. One is, can we obtain PACE OCI continuous reflectance at 1 kilometer spatial resolution and 5 nanometer or 10 nanometer bandwidth? And we have an answer from Sky that says the current surface reflectance product is also available at level 2. So that's 1.2 kilometer nadir and the same 10 nanometer spacing. I don't know if you have anything to add, Jeremy.
Yeah, just to clarify, Sky has a great answer here that deals with surface reflectance. If you're looking for ocean color radiometry or remote sensing reflectance, that will be at the native ocean color instrument resolution, spectral resolution, which is 2.5 nanometer steps from the ultraviolet into the near infrared. And it's always a 5 nanometer bandwidth. That's just the way the slit in the instrument operates for its full width half max.
All right. Excellent. One more question. For OCI, are the product reports and images available for research and policy application, specifically wavelength and phytoplankton?
These data are open and available. You can go to NASA's Earth Data Search or the OBDAC to get these products. They are absolutely available to research any way you want to use them. I would just ask that when doing this, given the fact that we are still within the first 6 months so of initial data release, there are known features or issues with the data, so be mindful of that. Check that. What you should know about PACE data website often, because calibrations are going to continue to evolve and happen. We'll be reprocessing, multiple times in the next 12 to 18 months. So there will be an evolution forward in data quality. So please start using the data, but do it conscientiously. There are imperfections. We're really young. We're really early in the mission. So it's really important to be mindful of that, particularly if you're starting to get into things like policy, which again, NASA doesn't take a stance on that. We just give you the best data in the world.
Excellent. All right, Jeremy, there's one more in the chat if you can maybe try answering it, but we'll have to move on in the interest of time. I'd like to move on to our next speakers.